Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Shri Shri Gauranitai Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivacharya Ashtotar Session Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swamishta Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavind Ki Jai Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायस्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 29, text number 5 to 8. Is the fifth one? Only 8. All are here. दुह्यन्तो अभिययुः काश्चित् दोहं हित्वा samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Repeat this one only. Please repeat. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścid doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścid doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścid doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ.
doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścit payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ.
Mataji's.
Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścit doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścit doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya saṁyāvam anudvāsyāparā yayuḥ. Duhantyo abhiyayuḥ kāścit doham hitvā samutsukāḥ payo dhiśritya anudvāsyāparā.
Okay. Duhantyaḥ.
Duhantyaḥ.
In the middle of milking the cows,
In the middle of milking the cow,
abhiyayuḥ
abhiyayuḥ
went away,
went away.
kāścit,
Kāścid,
some of them,
some of them,
doham,
doham,
the milking,
the milking,
hitvā,
hitvā,
abandoning,
abandoning,
samutsukāḥ,
samutsukāḥ,
extremely eager,
extremely eager,
payaḥ, milk,
milk,
adhiśritya,
adhiśritya,
having placed on the stove,
having placed on the stove,
saṁyāvam,
saṁyāvam,
cakes made of flour,
cakes made of flour,
anudvāsya,
anudvāsya,
without removing from the oven,
without removing from the
aparāḥ,
aparāḥ,
others,
others,
yayuḥ,
yayuḥ,
went.
went.
Translation. Some of the gopis were milking cows when they heard Kṛṣṇa's flute. They stopped milking and went off to meet him. Some left milk curdling on the stove, and others left cakes burning in the oven. Purport. The eagerness of these cowherd girls, so lovingly devoted to young Kṛṣṇa, is shown here. We'll read the subsequent verses also till 8th. परिवेशयन्त्यस्तद्धित्वा पाययन्त शिशून् पयः शुश्रूषन्तयः पतिन् काश्चित् अश्नत्योपास्य भोजनं लिम्पन्त्यः प्रम्रीजन्त्योऽन्या अज्ञान्त्यः काश्यलोचने व्यत्यस्त्य वस्त्राभरणाः काश्चित् कृष्णान्तिकं ययुः. Some of them were getting breast, feeding milk to their infants, or rendering personal service to their husbands, but they all gave up these duties and went to meet Kṛṣṇa. Other gopis were taking their evening meals, washing themselves, putting on cosmetics or applying kajal to their eyes. But all the gopis stopped these activities at once, and though their clothes and ornaments were in complete disarray, rushed off to Kṛṣṇa. Text number 8. Tāvaryamānā patibhi pitribhir bhraturbandhubhi Govinda paritatmano nanyavantanta mohitaha. Their husbands, fathers, brothers, and other relatives tried to stop them, but Kṛṣṇa had already stolen their hearts. Enchanted by the sound of his flute, they rushed to turn back. They refused to turn back. Some of the young gopis were married, and their husbands tried to stop them. The unmarried girls had to deal with their fathers and brothers and other relatives. None of these relatives would have ordinarily allowed even the young girls' dead bodies to go alone into the forest at night. But Lord Kṛṣṇa had already engaged his internal potency, and thus the entire romantic episode unfolded without interference. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुवैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Seeking blessings of His Grace Panchoda Prabhu and other senior Vaishnavas. It's a very exalted topic. I am not qualified, but somehow given this service of speaking on this very exalted topic of Rasa Leela, Kṛṣṇa and the gopīs meet, the first chapter in this series of 5 chapters that describes the entire Rasa Leela pastime. So what is the essence of Bhagavad-Gita? We all celebrated Gita Jayanti. Kṛṣṇa talks about many subjects in Bhagavad-Gita: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. In the end, the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita is which famous verse? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami ma sucha. So that's the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita. So Kṛṣṇa is saying, just abandon all varieties of so-called religion and just surrender unto me. So that is where Bhagavad-Gita ends. And Srimad Bhagavatam begins at that point of this highest dharma of devotional service to Kṛṣṇa. So therefore in the first canto, second chapter of Bhagavatam, we have the famous verse, Savai punsa paro dharma yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahetuki apratihata yayatmasu prasidati. So that's the beginning of Bhagavatam, talking of this paro dharma, the highest dharma of rendering uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service. Ahituki apratihata. So without any personal motivations or without any hindrances, performing pure devotional service to Kṛṣṇa, that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us right from the first canto. Then we see examples of various devotees as we progress in Srimad Bhagavatam who exemplify this verse of Bhagavatam of rendering pure devotional service to Kṛṣṇa. So in the third canto, in the fourth canto we have pastimes of Dhruv Maharaj. We see the exalted nature of Dhruv Maharaj, that how when Kṛṣṇa appeared before him, although he had material desires before, but as soon as he had darshan of Kṛṣṇa, he prayed to Kṛṣṇa that I don't want anything from you. I just want association of your pure devotees. I want to simply remember you, serve you. Then as we move ahead in Bhagavatam, in the fifth canto, we see the example of which great devotee in fifth canto? Bharat Maharaj. Yes, thank you. Bharat Maharaj. So we see the example of Bharat Maharaj, that how he was the emperor of the entire world, entire Bharatavarsha, this country which is known as Bharat in the name of Bharat Maharaj. But he left it all to take exclusive shelter of Kṛṣṇa's lotus feet. Sarva dharman parityajya. We see that. So Bharat Maharaj, although he fell down temporarily, but then ultimately achieved Kṛṣṇa's lotus feet. So such a great example of Bharat Maharaj. We see surrender, his dedication. And then we also see the example in 6th canto of Chitraketu Maharaj, who became such a great devotee. Later he became Vritrasur in the body of demon also. He was such a great devotee. He offered such beautiful prayers in Bhagavatam. Aham harer tava padeka moolam dasanudasa bhavitasmi bhuya manasmare atupater gunamste vrinita vakarma karotu kaya So when Indra was trying to kill Vritrasur, he prayed beautifully, offered beautiful prayers to Kṛṣṇa, that my only desire is the life after life, I may serve your servants. Aham harer tava padaika mula dasanu das. I want to become servant of your servant. I want to engage my mind in thinking of your glories. I want to engage my words in describing your glories. I want to use my body in serving you. So such beautiful prayers. And he said, I don't want nanaka preshtham, nacha parameshtham. I don't want heavenly planets. I don't want liberation. I don't want Ashtasiddhis. So he says, the only thing I want is to serve you, my Lord. Such beautiful prayers we see offered by Vritrasur. Example of surrender and the highest, one of the great devotees of Kṛṣṇa. 7th canto, the famous devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. So we hear about Prahlad Maharaj. Look at his devotion for Kṛṣṇa, for Narsimhadev, how he suffered so many tribulations, so many sufferings, but still his devotion service was not hindered. That is, apratihata. Could not be checked by any means. Ahetuki, he had no motivations. When Narsimhadev said, you asked me for a benediction, he said, no, my dear Lord, I don't want to ask anything. Because I am not a businessman that I serve you and I want something in exchange. No. I only want pure devotion service at your lotus feet. I want to serve my spiritual master Narad Muni life after life. Such a great example of Prahlad Maharaj. Then 8th canto. Can you give an example of a great devotee whose pastimes we read in 8th canto? Yes, Gajendra also at the end of life he remembered Kṛṣṇa. And also Bali Maharaj, yes, Bali Maharaj. That how he offered everything, Atma Nivedan. He sacrificed everything for Kṛṣṇa. The 9th canto we have Lord Ram's pastimes, example of Hanumanji and such great exalted devotees of Lord Ram who also served Lord Ram without any motivation, with full dedication. Ahetukiya Pratiyata Bhakti, we also hear about Hanumanji. And 9th canto has another great example. Anyone can tell that great devotee 9th canto? Yes? Ambarish Maharaj, thank you. Ambarish Maharaj. A famous example of such a great king. Savai mana Krishna padar vindayo vachansi vaikuntha gunanu varnane. Such a great devotee, but he was a king, but still he engaged all his senses. His mind in thinking about Kṛṣṇa, his hands in cleaning the temple of the Lord, his feet in walking to the holy places of pilgrimage, his eyes in seeing beautiful form of the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulasi and prasadam offered to the Lord. So we see Ambarish Maharaj, such a great example. He engaged all his senses in the service of Kṛṣṇa. Again, example of pure devotional service. But then finally, so all these cantos 1 to 9 are helping us to come to this final climax, the 10th canto. The devotees of Vrindavan. Because their devotional service for Kṛṣṇa, their love for Kṛṣṇa is the highest. So in the 10th canto, we see the example of Yashoda Maiya, Nanda Maharaj, the friends of Kṛṣṇa. In the previous chapters in 10th canto, the love of Mother Yashoda for Kṛṣṇa, the love of the cowherd boys for Kṛṣṇa. But now we are coming to the climax of the climax. The highest example, the greatest devotees of the Lord. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanaya Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya kāścid upāsana brajabadhu Barge Nayah Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradarah Naparaha. So it is said that our worshipable Lord is Kṛṣṇa, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanaya. And his dham, Tad Dhama Vrindavan. So this Vrindavan dham is also as worshipable for us as Kṛṣṇa himself. Because the dham is non-different from Kṛṣṇa. And Ramya kāścid upāsana, Brajabadhu, the highest form of worshipping Kṛṣṇa is that of the gopīs of Vrindavan, Brajabadhu. Varge Neha Kalpita. Srimad So the highest devotees of Krishna are the gopīs. And Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. And this Bhagavatam is Amala Puran, the highest of all scriptures. Because Mala means dirty things or Kama, Dharma, Artha, Kama, etc. That is not there in Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore it's Amal Puran, the purest Puran. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradara Napara. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, entire teachings can be summarized in these 4 lines. Our worshipable Lord is Kṛṣṇa and also his dham Vrindavan. The highest devotees of Lord of Kṛṣṇa are the gopīs, and the highest scripture is, the purest scripture is Srimad Bhagavatam. So we understand, and also the Bhagavatam is teaching us that among all the devotees are exalted, but the surrender of the gopīs for Kṛṣṇa, that is the highest. The love of the gopīs for Kṛṣṇa is the highest. And these verses that we are reading today here, this is the proof. This is the proof that why the gopīs are so exalted. Because their surrender for Kṛṣṇa is unparalleled. What they left? They left their home. For a woman especially, let's just even a few years back in India, the society was quite conservative, for a woman to go out of home was not heard of. Srila Prabhupada says even women, if they had to go out of house, they used to go in palanquin covered by cloths so that nobody could see them. That is how strict the society was. That woman was always supposed to be under protection. When she was small, she was supposed to be protected by father, and after marriage she was supposed to be protected by husband, and then after the husband she was supposed to be protected by sons. And imagine 5,000 years back, what must have been the status of society, how it was unheard of that women could leave the home at dead of night, that too. That's what we read in the Purport, that it is said in the Purport of the 8th verse that they wouldn't have allowed even the dead bodies of the young girls to go in the forest at midnight. What to speak of living women, Even dead body of women not supposed to, they wouldn't have allowed. But still, under those circumstances, the gopīs, they left everything just on the call of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa just played his flute, and just once they heard the flute and they left everything because they understood that Kṛṣṇa is calling me. That was enough for them. So that intense love, that eagerness we can see here. The word that is used here is the eagerness that the gopīs had. The particular word used here in the just now read. Yes, in the 5th verse, it is said, the eagerness of these cowherd girls, so lovingly devoted to young Kṛṣṇa, is shown here. What was their eagerness, Imagine, they left milk for boiling, they left that, they didn't care. They were cooking maybe some chapatis or cakes on the stove, they left it then and there. They didn't even think, okay, let me finish this one chapati. No, just at that spot they left it. Some of them, they were feeding their infant babies. They just dropped off the babies, Some of them, they were serving their husbands, but they gave up those duties. Some of them, they were dressing, but they could not even finish their dressing. They were putting ointments, kajal to their eyes. They put kajal in one eye, and the other eye was having no kajal. It is also said sometimes they, instead of putting the upper garments, they put the upper garments in the lower part and lower garments in the upper part. That's how they became so eager to meet Kṛṣṇa. It's very exalted. I'm just trying to repeat whatever we are reading. So it's actually, that is why Srila Prabhupada wants us that directly we can't appreciate the gopis' love for Kṛṣṇa. First you have to understand the first 9 cantos. To understand, therefore, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he used to hear I mean, when he used to go to Gadadhar Pandit to discuss Bhagavatam, what topic he used to discuss? The qualities of Dhruv Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. And only with Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar he used to discuss this exalted topic about the gopīs and Rasalila, etc. So Srila Prabhupada says, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own example. He showed us that these topics are not to be discussed in public, just like some professional kathakars they speak. No, because we need to have qualification to understand this topic. Very exalted. So first Bhagavad-Gita, that who understands Bhagavad-Gita, even that we don't understand. So first you have to understand Bhagavad-Gita, then Srimad Bhagavatam from Canto 1 to 9, and then Canto 10, and that to the first 28 chapters, and then we'll come to this 29th chapter of 10th Canto. So we shouldn't take it cheaply, otherwise we'll be known as Sahajyas, because Sahajyas are those who take these things very cheaply. And unfortunately they want to imitate. There are many people in India. A few years back also some impostor was arrested because he was trying to imitate Rasalila. He was thinking, I am Kṛṣṇa, and used to call all the women and enjoy Rasalila. So Srila Prabhupada warns us in Kṛṣṇa book, if you read this chapter again and again, that we're very, very careful in understanding these pastimes. Otherwise, we'll misunderstand this most exalted pastimes. Because this is the exchange of highest love. Rasalila pastime. It's meant for Paramahansas on the level of Shukdev Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They can relish these pastimes. We can simply read Srila Prabhupada's words and Srimad Bhagavatam for our purification. But to come to the stage of relishing these pastimes, it requires a lot of advancement in spiritual life. So we can see here, so this Sarva Dharman Parityaja, in one lecture Srila Prabhupada was saying that the gopis are the highest example of this verse. Leaving everything for Kṛṣṇa. Mam ekam sharanam braja. Yes, Bharat Maharaj left his kingdom. So many other examples we have seen. But what gopis have done, that is something most amazing. Leaving their family, leaving their children, leaving their husbands, leaving everything. Because once they knew that they could never come back. When they left home, it was sure that they would never be accepted again back in home. They knew that. But still they left. Why? Only for Krishna's pleasure. This is again very important point. So not that the gopis wanted to enjoy themselves. No. That is the most fundamental aspect of this pastime. Srila Prabhupada explains kama and prema. Lust and love. So atma indriya priti vancha tare bole kam. So when we try to satisfy our own senses, that is known as lust. Kama. And when we try to satisfy Krishna's senses, that is known as prema, love. So the gopis, they left everything at the dead of the night, not for their own sense gratification, no. Their only motivation was that we want to give Kṛṣṇa pleasure, because he has called us. So for his pleasure, we have to go there. And dead of the night and dense forest. These days we don't have any forest. Imagine dense forest, I don't know, these days probably we have forest in Amazon river, South America or some places, I don't know. Very few places on earth now we have dense forest. But those days even Vrindavan, we had dense forest. With so many wild animals, Kṛṣṇa will say later in this chapter, that please go back, there are so many wild animals in the forest. So leaving their family, going in the dead of the night to dense forest, that too just simply by hearing the flute vibration of Kṛṣṇa. So this is the highest example of surrender to Kṛṣṇa. Highest example of attraction for Kṛṣṇa. They had no other desire, no other attachments. Srila Prabhupada writes beautifully in Kṛṣṇa book that, I'll read a few lines from Kṛṣṇa book, Srila Prabhupada's words. When all the gopis were hurriedly leaving their respective places, their husbands, brothers and fathers were all struck with wonder to know where they were going. It was like shocking for them. How can they leave? Where are they going? Being young girls, they were protected either by husbands, elder brothers or fathers. All their guardians forbade them to go to Kṛṣṇa, but they disregarded them. When a person becomes attracted by Kṛṣṇa and is in full Kṛṣṇa consciousness, he does not care for any worldly duties, even though very urgent. Kṛṣṇa consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. Srila Rupa Goswami has written a very nice verse wherein one gopi advises another, my dear friend, if you desire to enjoy the company of material society, friendship and love, then please do not go to see that smiling boy Govinda who is standing on the bank of the Yamuna and playing his flute. His lips brightened by the beams of the full moonlight. Srila Rupa Goswami indirectly instructs that one who has been captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Kṛṣṇa has lost all attraction for material enjoyments. This is a test of advancement in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Once again, Srila Prabhupada saying, this is the test of advancement in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. What is the test? A person advancing in Kṛṣṇa consciousness must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. He must lose interest in two things, material activities and personal sense gratification. If we have these two things, if we have interest in material activities or we want personal sense gratification, that means we are not advancing in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Some advancement may be there, of course, we are chanting the holy names, but still the advancement is not good enough. If you are still attached to material activities and if we want personal sense gratification. Sometimes even while performing activities of devotional service, we seek sense gratification. I'm talking about myself, of course. That we want our own name, fame, we start enjoying, we want to enjoy like giving class, doing kirtan. So we have a tendency to enjoy ourselves. I want recognition, puja la pratishtha. So even while performing activities of devotional service, if we have such desires, that means advancement. We are not advancing in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. We are stuck somewhere. That is the test, Srila Prabhupada is saying. And the gopis, they passed the test. They had no desire for personal sense gratification. They had no interest in material activities. So as soon as Kṛṣṇa, they were waiting for Kṛṣṇa's call, and as soon as they understood that Kṛṣṇa is now calling, they immediately left. So this is such a great example, of eagerness to meet Kṛṣṇa. Of that intense desire. We see the intensity. Like Bhagavatam says, akama sarva kamo va moksha kamodare tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham prada. Tivra bhakti. That intense devotional service that we see in the lives of the gopis, that we see in this particular pastime, that how intense was the attraction for Kṛṣṇa. They didn't plan, okay, let me wind up my activities, let me, take care of things. I'll go, but not now, after some time. Let me, just like when we plan, okay, let me take care of this thing, that thing, then we'll surrender to Kṛṣṇa. No, that is not surrender. Immediate. Takshanat. That is the highest example. That immediately they left everything. And that is why the gopis are considered to be the highest devotees. And that is why our aspiration is to become Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayo Dasa Dasanudas. We shouldn't think that I'll become Gopi. No. Servant of the gopis. That is the highest aspiration that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us. So therefore, we can understand the exalted position of the gopis and Srimati Radharani through the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Acharyas. Otherwise, people in general, they think, oh, okay, there were some devotees, they did some tapasya, they became... No. The gopis, see, there are different categories of gopis. I'm sure you must have heard of it, some of you. That some were Nitya Siddha gopis. They came directly from Golok Vrindavan, Krishna's own eternal associates. Like Srimati Radharani, Lalita, Visakha, etc. And some gopis, they were sadhana siddha gopis. That means they were jivas in this material world, but somehow by sadhana they got promoted and they took birth in Bhaumya Vrindavan, a place where Kṛṣṇa was performing his pastime, as for the final training before going back home, back to God. So within that sadhana siddha gopis, various categories are there. Shruti-chari gopi, the Vedas who became gopis, Rishi-chari gopis, because when Lord Ram was in Dandakaranya forest, so the great rishis, they were attracted by the beauty of Lord Ram, and they wanted to become his wife. But Lord Ram had taken the vow of Ekapatni Vrata. So in Kṛṣṇa's pastimes, they were allowed to take birth as gopis. So Rishi-chari gopis, Shruti-chari gopis, then there are Dev Kanyas, then there's so many categories of the sadhana siddha gopis. So these gopis are in two categories. So it is said that by the association of the Nitya Siddha gopis, these sadhana siddha gopis also got the final training, and they were purified of any traces of material contamination that they had. And they all rushed towards Kṛṣṇa. And we'll read in the future verses that some gopis, they were stopped actually. They were not allowed to go. So what they did? They meditated upon Kṛṣṇa within their heart, and their absorption in Kṛṣṇa was so strong that then and there they gave up this material body and went to Kṛṣṇa with their spiritual body. So this is the intensity that the gopis had for meeting Kṛṣṇa. They were stopped by their family members. They left their body there just by absorbing themselves in the thoughts of Kṛṣṇa. So that is why the gopis are the highest devotees of Kṛṣṇa. And we'll just read a few verses about the glories of gopis, how great they are. In Srimad Bhagavatam itself, when Uddhava comes to Vrindavan, I'm sure all of you know this pastime, that when Kṛṣṇa, he went from Vrindavan to Mathura, so he sent Uddhava with a message to Vrindavan. There were two reasons. One, he wanted to give his message, but he also wanted Uddhava to learn and see the exalted state of the gopis. So when Uddhava went and he saw the exalted nature of the gopis, he spoke a very beautiful verse. Nayam shriyonga unitantarate prasadaha swaryo shitam nalila gandha rucham kutonyah rasotsavayasya bhujadanda grihita kantha labdhasi saṁyāvam vrajasundarinam. When Lord Kṛṣṇa was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced around the neck by the Lord's arms. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world. Nor was such a thing ever imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets. Girls whose bodily lustre and aroma resemble the beauty and fragrance of lotus flowers. And what to speak of worldly women who may be very, very beautiful according to material estimation. Saying that the fortune that the gopis had, being embraced by Kṛṣṇa, they got the opportunity to dance with Kṛṣṇa, that even Lakshmi Devi did not get, who is the consort of Lord Narayan, Shriya. Even she didn't get this favor. What the gopis got. Even the wives of demigods, whose bodies are so beautiful, their aroma is like lotus flowers, but even they didn't get this great favor what these gopis they got in Vrindavan. So this is one verse which gives us a glimpse that how exalted are the gopis. We know that Lakshmi Devi, where she is performing tapasya in Vrindavan, in Braj, Belvan. Just few days back I had gone there for darshan. So Belvan, that temple is there. Lakshmi Devi is standing, just the opposite side of Yamuna. Like this side we have Vanshivat, near Keshi Ghat area where Kṛṣṇa performed Rasa Leela. Just opposite to that is Belvan, where Lakshmi Devi is still performing austerity. And but still she was not allowed to enter Vrindavan. Just see. I mean, Lakshmi Devi is not allowed to enter Vrindavan because she doesn't have that mood of being the servant of the gopis. The only person who can enter Vrindavan is one in this mood. Naham vipra nacha narpati napi vaishya na sudro naham varni nacha grihapati na vanastho yatirva kintu prodyan nikhila parmananda purnamritabdhet gopi bhartur padakamaleo das dasanudas. Only one who is in this mood of being servant of the gopis, that person can enter Vrindavan. So, another verse where Uddhav is praying. Okay, let me read a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Mahaprabhu is saying that I have learnt all this. Look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's humility. Now he is saying that I don't know these things, but I learned all these things from Ramananda Rai and Sarup Damodar. He is saying, Eshava shikhaile mora Rai Ramananda anargala rasaveta prema sukhananda. Ramananda Rai is extremely aware of transcendental mellows. He is incessantly absorbed in the happiness of ecstatic love for Kṛṣṇa. It is he who has taught me all this. It is impossible to describe the influence and knowledge of Ramananda Rai, for only by his mercy have I understood the unalloyed love of the residents of Vrindavan. The transcendental mellows of ecstatic love are personified by Sarup Damodar. By his association, I have understood Vrindavan's transcendental mellow of conjugal love. The unalloyed love of the gopis and Srimati Radharani is without any trace of material lust. The criterion of such transcendental love is that its only purpose is to satisfy Kṛṣṇa. Shuddha prema braja devira kama gandha hina Kṛṣṇa sukha tatparya etara chinha. And one example, the last verse of Gopi Geet, where the gopis are saying, Yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu Bhita shanai priyadadi mahi karkasheshu Tenat vimatasitad vatatena kim swit Kurpa divid bhramati dhid bhavadayushamna. Oh dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breast, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our lives rest only in you. Our minds therefore are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by the pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. So this example Srila Prabhupada gives, that how they were thinking that these pebbles in the forest, they may be hurting Kṛṣṇa's feet. That is how they were always thinking of giving pleasure to Kṛṣṇa. That is the symptom of pure love, and that is how the gopis are so exalted. And therefore, Uddhava prays finally, Asam mahocharane renu jusham aham syam Vrindavane kimapi gulma lato shidhinam Yadustyajam swajanam arya patham cha hitvā Bhejur mukunda padavim shrutivir vimikram. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons and other family members who are very difficult to give up, and they have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, Kṛṣṇa, which one should search for by the Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to become one of the bushes, creepers or herbs in Vrindavan, for the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. So this is the opinion of Uddhava. He's not an ordinary person, he's a friend of Kṛṣṇa, such a great learned scholar, devotee. He is offering this prayer, let me become a blade of grass in Vrindavan so that I can get the dust of the lotus feet of gopis. So with this, you can understand the exalted position of the gopis. On all we can aspire is to become dust at the lotus feet, following the footsteps of our acharyas. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give all of us. Anarpitam charit virat karuna avatirna kalu samarpayitum unnata ujjvala rasam swabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sada hriday kandare vasatu vasachinandana. So Lord Chaitanya has come to give us this highest prema, love that the devotees in Vrindavan have for Kṛṣṇa. But the process of Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Therefore it is said that Shiva's Angan, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had kirtan all throughout the night, that is considered to be non-different from Rasalila pastime. So the same Rasalila pastime has been revealed to us, can be revealed to us, the process of Sankirtan, chanting of the holy names, which Srila Prabhupada has given to all of us. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class, insightful for all of us. This mood that the gopis had, that when they heard Krishna's flute, whatever they were doing, they immediately dropped and went to be with Kṛṣṇa. I'll give you one example of the mood that Srila Prabhupada had. Was very much similar to that of the gopis. At one time, very early in the founding of temples here in India, Prabhupada received a message that going to Singapore would be a very good place for preaching Krishna consciousness. So when Srila Prabhupada heard this, he asked us devotees, who will go? And so I volunteered to go, but in my mind I was thinking, okay, I will go to Singapore, but first I will stay with the devotees and postpone my trip to Singapore. I will travel more, I will be with Prabhupada, and eventually in the future I will go. And then when I said, of course this transpired in only a few seconds, but when I told Srila Prabhupada, I will go, then he said, very good, immediately. So without even wasting 1 second, even before the class was finished, Prabhupada had me going to the train station to get on the train and start.
To Singapore. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much. Yeah, exactly. This point actually came to my mind. Thank you, Prabhuji, that we see in the lives of Srila Prabhupada, great disciples like you and others, that how left everything for Srila Prabhupada's service. Yes, so this is actually, and Prabhupada writes in the Kṛṣṇa book that the preachers in Krishna conscious movement, they are also very dear to Krishna like the gopis. So yes, so exactly the same thing. They left everything. One call of Srila Prabhupada, they left everything, and whatever Srila Prabhupada said, they were ready to follow. Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing that. Like Prabhu went to Singapore, you heard of stories like how the 3 Grihastha couples, Srila Prabhupada said, you go to London, immediately they left for London. Shyam Sundar and Malti Mataji had a small daughter, Saraswati. They didn't care, they just, without any money, Grihasthas, 3 young couples, Gurudas Prabhu and Yamuna Mataji, and Mukunda Prabhu and Janki Mataji, just left everything, went to London. So many beautiful examples like this, following in the footsteps of the gopis, following Srila Prabhupada's orders, how they left everything. And even now I'm sure in the second generation also, there must be many devotees who also left their home, their comforts, for the sake of preaching this Krishna conscious movement. Yes. So thank you, Prabhupada. You're all following in the footsteps of the gopis, yes.
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 Actually, in one sense, I feel that my question was answered right now, but I would still like to ask, because it's indirect, that following in the footsteps of the gopīs, giving up material relationships for the sake of Krishna's pleasure. Can you elaborate on this? Like, coming to that point there, I know that if I perform this duty in devotional service, according to at least rules and regulations, or even according to spontaneous attraction, then if I do this right now, then in this moment, this person, this relative, this friend will become really upset. And I don't know if I can ever fix that again. It may feel like that sometimes. Or even small, but still we will hesitate to have that confrontation. So can you speak about facing that confrontation?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. See, you see, we cannot imitate the gopis, so that's why we have to execute devotion service under some guidance. So if you take guidance from some senior devotees, so they'll guide us that what is right at our stage, because they know our level of advancement in Krishna consciousness, and they can practically guide us that what we should do, whether we should leave our whatever family members, relatives immediately or gradually. So therefore, it's very important that we practice Krishna consciousness under guidance. That spirit we can have, that internal spirit. Like somebody staying with family, doesn't mean you have to give up the family immediately. That's what Krishna will say later, that stay wherever you are, just remember me. So that is very important that we take guidance from spiritual master, from senior devotees, so they can guide us. So the spirit is important. So we need not do it all the time that we actually leave everything, but that spirit should be there from within, that yes, we are detached from everything and we want only Krishna. Right? Thank you. That is under your question? I mean, is it okay?
Hari Bol. Very nice. Prabhupada says, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instruct us that to reach to the highest platform of pure love of devotional service to Krishna, which gopis exhibited, we have to go through the steps of, Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Kanishthadhikari, like that. But we keep Prabhupada, we see the Prabhupada example and other great acharyas, that even though we have to give up everything, which is true, but we do not have that kind of feeling in our heart of hating anything. It's very important. Hating. Hating. Oh, my father is not doing this, my brother is not doing this, my friend is not doing that. Yes, they are not doing it because they are ignorant. So as a devotee, we should have a compassion. Oh, he is ignorant. Let me become. But with that compassion, we should be strong enough to maintain our Krishna consciousness. Because I remember in New Vrindavan, long back it was started, all religions, group things, and the devotees were on a different level. So many of them have slipped off by hearing those things. So we have to have that strong heart, means strong consciousness, by chanting purely Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu winded up everything, that pure chanting, that will only protect us and help us to reach ultimate goal of life. Otherwise all these king's examples which you started from the first canto, they shows that you may reach highest peak of materialism, but ultimately you found it, that's nothing. So then you start with the pure devotional service. So like that hating, some of the devotees have those, even after practicing 40 years, you hate. So no, that hating quality is terrible. Because even though we may not be Paramahamsa, but we take the knowledge of Paramahamsa and we mellow down ourselves. That no, because when you hate, it's an offense. So our devotional service gets checked. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for your nice comments. Thank you very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.